Sambonani, Tobela, Dumelang, Goeiedag, Nda, Molweni, and good day to all of you talented, gifted, and potential-filled campeones, champions out there. Yes, I'm talking to you, Wena Lapana. My buta, my sasak praat met jou namhlanje. And we are so excited and pumped for every single one of you that is watching this particular show today. And yeah, formally, welcome. All right, to the King in Me show right here at Patmos Studio. And hey fam, in this particular video, I've got such an interesting guest here with me on my left-hand side, your guys' right-hand side, and we're gonna be talking about things, all right, tips and advice that can help you moving forward at the end of the day. Because fam, listen, the reality is no man or woman is an island. We all need people in our lives, all right? We all need to surround ourselves with wise men or women who can essentially help us to move forward in our lives. Why? Because ultimately, like we shared in the previous episode, ultimately both failure and success leaves clues. All right, both failure and success leaves clues. So we can learn from one another, all right, so that we can grow and become everything that God has created us to be. Lamhlabeni, Hisopiri Aarde, right here on earth. So that was a mouthful. And with that being said, over here I've got a gentleman that plays an absolutely instrumental role in my life, in my precious wife's life, and his wife also plays a massive role in our lives too. And I consider Dave to be a dad to me, and man, he's really a truly inspirational guy, and I trust and believe that you guys are going to be inspired and encouraged and strengthened and comforted in a massive way through this living legend right here on my left hand side. So yep, drum roll if you would right there in the comment section down below. And Dave, welcome sir.
Yeah, thanks Will.
I'm gonna change it. All right, it's not just Dave. It's determined. It's dedicated. All right, it's destiny driven. It's decision making Dave. So good to have you here.
That's a prophecy, my man.
If you can bring in that lacquer elbow over there, the well sculpted elbow. Yeah, so we're excited to have you here today, Dave. Thank you so much, firstly, for taking the time to be here.
Thanks, Will. It's a privilege to be here.
Awesome. And yeah, I didn't want to be selfish, guys. So Dave's impacted my life in a massive way through Christ in him, the hope of glory. And didn't want to keep him to myself. Wanted to come and share him here with you guys. And we trust and we believe that all of us are going to leave here empowered moving forward. So with that being said, Dave, over to you. I just want to ask you, start off with a start-off question. And my question is, what is one like standout moment in your life? Like, what is one standout thing that happened to you in your life?
Sure. Well, at my age, that's a big question.
Absolutely.
You've got a lot of files to go through, eh?
Definitely.
No, there've been so many things, but yeah, perhaps what I'll come up with is a little bit weird, because probably the thing that had the most impact on my life, and in a perverse way, even perhaps more than when I was saved as a young teenager, kneeling at a youth club camp in a tent in Hartenbos down in the Cape, okay? But even that, I don't think one realizes quite the walk that you're starting. And sometimes the walk doesn't really start there. But in 1993, I was diagnosed with a malignant melanoma, which the doctor I actually knew what it was because a friend of mine had recently died from a malignant melanoma, but he then shared that it's like the most virulent form of cancer. So, you can just imagine the impact that has on you. And like I had by that stage of my life learned to do, I just took that straight to the Lord, with a bit of a pity party, hey?
Yes. We all have those. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that was really the first thing. It was like, why me? And then I kind of felt, well, why not me?
Absolutely. I was literally about to say that. Yeah. So why not?
And well, my children were 10 and 12. I thought I don't want my kids to grow up without a dad. And that was the first thing. That was the real cry of my heart. And I went before the Lord and I said, Lord, first of all, I'm like a good guy. I don't do anyone in. Why did this happen to me? But that didn't last too long, that total pity party, because I was very concerned about my children growing up without a dad. And I was saying, but I don't want to orphan my kids in terms of a father. I've still got so much I want to try, and so much time I want to spend with them, so much time I want to, and sort of effort I want to put into them. And you know, the retort that I got from the Lord changed my walk with the Lord forever and a day.
Sure.
Because he came back to me and he said, you cannot orphan your children. I'm their father.
Wow.
They're just loaned to you.
Wow.
So they're in your care, but I'm their dad. I will never leave them nor forsake them.
Come on.
And in that moment, with that answer, I understood that my God would never leave nor forsake me either.
Absolutely.
So that changed, yes. So that changed my life. So this incredibly negative event, like God always does, he just upstages Satan, and he just uses it to his glory. Absolutely. And so that was a start of a different walk with the Lord, because I was realizing then that our time on earth is finite. We can't say when and where, so we really need to max out the time that we do get blessed with, and have joy in that day.
Absolutely.
Not wait for something in the future to happen which is going to perhaps be better or whatever, or when you get that bike or that car or that whatever. That is so kind of here today and gone tomorrow.
Absolutely.
But it's building on the eternal legacy of what and joy that God gives us in life.
Which is the complete opposite as to how the world essentially functions, because the world teaches, once you get this, then you'll be this. And the kingdom is the complete opposite. It's that joy in the moment, maximizing that moment, that present, not even worrying about tomorrow. Doesn't mean you don't plan for tomorrow, but not to worry about tomorrow. So
no, absolutely. Well, in fact, at that stage of my life, things were going pretty well with me from a financial point of view. I'd established myself in my business, and it was a time where I could easily have got sucked into that whole materialistic trap, and only happy when I've got the stuff that I want. To realize, in the corporate world, they say, everyone wants to climb this corporate ladder of success. The only problem is so many people climb that ladder to get to the top of the building to find that it's leaning against the wrong building, and it's very hollow. And we've seen that from so many real giants, guys like Steve Jobs and so on, was very outspoken before his death on how hollow that all was. It was just, it's like Solomon says, it was like
meaningless.
Meaningless.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sure. Powerful stuff. Listen, hey, if you're getting value out of this particular video, go ahead and hit or smash that sharp sign, that like button over there. And then the next question I'm really interested in asking you, Dave, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because you are a thinker. And that is, what kind of advice would you give to your either 16 or 18-year-old self? What kind of advice would you give to yourself, knowing what you know today?
Yeah, with the wisdom of hindsight.
Absolutely.
Another great question, Will. I think something that you only start to really learn later in life, and that's also with the wisdom of hindsight, is the absolute truth in what the word says when it says what you sow, that is what you're going to reap.
Sure.
If you can really meditate on that and let that get from your head into your heart, I think you start to realize, and especially speaking to youngsters, how many things did I not do in those days that were thoughtless? I didn't think of the consequences of what I was doing.
Absolutely.
And you see, because unfortunately that biblical saying or word is a double-edged sword. If you sow positively, there can be an expectation that you're going to reap positively. But if you sow negatively, it's going to have negative consequences. And that's something that generally young people only learn later in their lives. They do a lot of stuff, whether it's going into a relationship, whether it's who knows, the stuff they'll spend their time on, the stuff they'll spend their money on, all of those things. They don't think it through up front and don't think, well, what's going to happen if I do this? They just go ahead and do it.
Absolutely.
So you're living too much in the moment. There's not enough reflection on what path am I actually embarking on now, and what are the consequences of that walk going to be?
Absolutely.
with hindsight, I would have made a lot of less mistakes, probably done a lot better things earlier in my life, and been able to live to the glory of God way better. There's no question about that. And I also started to understand when I thought of that's why God's grace has to be new every day.
Yes.
Because man, oh man, as much as we want to do it right, and Paul says it so beautifully, why is it that I can't do that which I should do, and that which I should do, I don't do? That's the cry of every one of our hearts. And sometimes Satan uses that opportunity to try and condemn you and convince you that now you're worthless. You see, you say that you're a Christian, but you can't be because look what you did.
Yeah.
And then my God picks me up again and he says, but my son took this for you. And you've come to me and you've asked me to forgive you, and I do. In fact, if you ask me in 5 minutes' time, Lord, about what I spoke to you about to forgive me, he's going to say,
what? Yeah. Powerful.
That is the love of the living God.
That's it. Powerhouse. And hey, listen, maybe some of you that are watching right now or listening right now, you feel worthless. You feel like you completely, in Afrikaans we say sit die pot mis, I think, my lovely wife, I think, would know a bit better. But you sit the pot mis and you feel like you're a failure. You feel like you are worthless. But fam, listen, all right, God's love, all right, is unconditional. And once you experience that love and you embrace that love, it actually empowers you then to essentially be the person that you've been created by God and called by God to be at the end of the day. So listen, don't like we heard in the previous episode when Nick was on, don't be so hard on yourself. Like, yes, you're going to make mistakes. Making mistakes, guys, is a part of the game. All right, the greatest footballers, the greatest rugby players, they make mistakes in games as well, but you don't stay in that mistake. All right, there's grace for us to move forward into the destiny and purpose that God has for us. And I just want to add on to what you were sharing there about decisions, Dave, because one of the best pieces of advice that I received from this incredibly handsome gentleman here on my left-hand side was, I was at a stage in my life where I needed to make a really pivotal decisions because, hey guys, listen, believe it or not, both me and you, all right, and every other human being on the face of this earth have this thing in common. We all have got decisions that we need to make. And I know we want God to make the decisions for us, but He doesn't do that because He's given us something called free will. So God is there to help us and to lead us to make the right decisions moving forward. Absolutely, yes, but He wants you to make the decision. And I remember I was having a chat with Dave, and that's why it's so important to have, people that are spirit-led beside you, because the proverb says, walk with the wise and you become wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm. And I sat with Dave the one day, I don't know if you can remember, but sat with Dave and I needed to make this really pivotal decision in my life. And you mentioned to me, and I'll never forget that day, you said to me, listen, be man enough, I'm paraphrasing though, be man enough to make the decision, but also be man enough to take the responsibility for the decisions that you have made. And that's something that just kind of stuck with me. And for you then to effectively make those decisions, you then need to essentially research the consequences of those decisions, and you need to think it through thoroughly, get understanding, get the right knowledge so that you can have the right wisdom to make the right decisions moving forward in our lives.
No, absolutely. Well, just to touch again where you speak in terms of mistakes, all of us are going to do a lot more things wrong than we're going to do them right in life.
Yeah.
And that's number one, through lack of knowledge, lack of wisdom, and we've got to get a lot older and wiser, and we will never be older wise enough to stop making mistakes. But I think what we've got to also realize is that mistakes are your stepping stones to success. If you a sportsman and you listen to your coach will not pick up on what you did right because you've already got that skill. But he's going to pick up on what you did wrong so that you become a more rounded player. So if he can focus on your wrongs, applaud you for your right, by all means, but focus on correcting the things you're doing wrong. Oh my word, you become such a complete player.
Absolutely.
And we become complete players in life when we learn from our mistakes and move on. So the need to be teachable is just so important too.
Come on. Can you guys drop some round of applause emoticons in the comment section down below? And yeah, Dave, with that being said, massive thanks just for taking the time to be here with us today. And I know that you're also representing your precious wife who's here too, Mom Irene. At the end of the day, ooh, Mom Irene, we see you and we love you. And with that being said, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time and being willing to invest into the next generation, you know, healthy youth,
it's
healthy
absolute
future.
privilege. Well,
Awesome. So bring in those lekker elbows there, or one elbow at least in there again. Thank you so much. And thank you to every single one of you for taking the time to watch this particular episode. And just know also this episode has been proudly brought to you by PKF Pretoria, one of the largest mid-tier accounting firms in South Africa. They provide an excellent audit, accounting, tax and business advisory solution. So go and check them out at pkf.co.za. And hey, listen, we also pumped and we excited. We got the merch out again on the King in Me website. We got the new shirt as well out. It's not yet today, it's still in production, but the new shirt of Purpose Over Popularity, as well as this No Fear Only Courage. So you can go and check that out and go and get yourself some merch over there at kinginme.co.za. And hey, listen, if you haven't yet shared this video, please go ahead and do so. Let's populate the airwaves with some good news stories. Come on, guys. There's so much negativity going around over there. So let's spread some positivity over the airwaves. Let's spread the good news. Let's spread hope. Let's spread life. Let's spread truth wherever we go. Because hey, as young people, we can be the change in this nation. We can be the change in the nations of the world. God has called us for a time such as this. So rise and shine, campione. And just know today, namhlanje guti, your voice matters.